Hey friends, welcome to Cam and Gill. So what's on your mind, or what has been on your mind the last couple of days?
That people are interesting and that conflict is healthy and that diversity is needed for unity. So there's been lots of conversations I've been having regarding lots of things concerning people and just people issues. And they're not really people issues, it's more, I think, people working through stuff and then it manifesting in other conversations, and then for you to kind of unpack what is actually the issue and what's going on. So yeah, that's been my last few days. Conflict is healthy, diversity is needed for unity, and yeah, people issues.
Yeah, I think similar, and I think that goes back to the conversation that we've been having over the last while about people and how people can actually affect you. And it's such an interesting thing that we actually, community as human beings, we actually need people to support us and make us feel accepted or welcomed. But we actually need human beings to give us our strength. But the amount of pain that can come from human interaction is also quite a significant thing. And sometimes we don't understand how these things actually works. And over the last while, I've kind of, in some ways, been very wary of who I interact with and how I interact, and even the level of sharing. And even on a more recent basis, like interaction with the business community, it's very, very strange, in the sense that people are out there to kind of get you or to bully the next person into doing something. And to a large extent, I think that is something that we need to be very cognizant of and aware of what actually exists out there, and what are people's motives and motivations for doing things. And like you've heard before, back in South Africa, I've learned quite a bit, and I've experienced quite a number of significant things in the business community. And when I see certain things, alarm bells start going off like wildfire. So yeah, and again, it comes down to people. And it comes down for me, like myself and Jill was chatting, it's a greedy thing. People are greedy. I almost want to say in Afrikaans, uitgevriet. Because Afrikaans actually says it much nicer. Hulle is uitgevriet vir geld, man. Ja. At the expense of the next person. And I think that is gross, to think that people will see the demise of the next person for their own gain. Yeah. What do you think of that?
Yeah, greed and so you say that's greed. I also see it goes hand in hand. Is the need for power and control. You are so right. So yeah, the ultimate thing is greed. But in order for me to attain my wealth and be greedy about it, you should me to exert my power and have control. It's a thing, and it can be camouflaged only for so long, and then your true nature will be revealed. So yeah, they come as in sheep clothes, whether it's transactions, whether it's just relationships, but ultimately your true motives, you can only hide your true self for so long, and then you're going to expose yourself.
Correct, yeah. It's going to come
So
out.
yeah, that is the day and age we live in. And so how do you kind of not prevent that, but how do you see that quickly and fast and like know when to deal with it? So kind of what standards or what kind of parameters can you put in place when your alarm bells, and trust those alarm bells. Generally when you are feeling under discomfort, there's something that is generally unholy about to transpire.
Correct.
Whether you're a person of faith or not, we talk about something wrong is going to unfold when that sense of like this is not all right
And you know what,
emerges.
Joel mentioned something to me this morning, something that we've noticed in this particular organization for years. I mean, some horrible things was even said to me by particular people in the same organization, and we've said it, and it was denied, and it was we were made to be out the ones that were crazy, and just talking about that crazy thing. I watched a video from someone who asked ChatGPT, if you want to control the world and enslave people, what is ChatGPT's ideas in this? And ChatGPT's response was, you start young, you control people, you get them hooked on dopamine, TikTok, Facebook, all these short reels. But at the same time, you start controlling them, and you make right wrong, actually. And you make people who are saying things that are actually factual and true, you make them to be the ones that are mad in some sense. But it's so redeeming when you hear stories that what you said was actually true, and it's unfolding. And in some ways, I told Joe, you know what? I want to give myself the label of a futurist, or ourselves labeled as futurists, because we sometimes speak things and it's maybe premature, but it's a warning for ourselves to say that somehow stuff is being revealed to us before things happen and before things go horribly pear-shaped. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be. And speaking back to what Joel said a few moments ago, is the fact that for me, I push in now. Like with people, I be fully who I am. Fully. Like if I disagree with something, I'm going to disagree off the cuff. If I agree with something, I'm going to agree with it off the cuff. And I'm not going to shy away of the knowledge that has been gifted to me over the period of time, the education that has been gifted to me, that I have. I don't shy away from that anymore. Because sometimes I feel that we shy away and we hide these things in order to feel it, to be accepted in communities and amongst people. And even in the place where we currently reside, when you shine too bright, you get cut short. And that's okay. If that is the case, then we be cut short, but we're going to be who we are, who God designed us to be, the way we've been created. And I think then we know immediately, quickly, where people actually hang out with us. If they accept us for who we are, if they don't, then that's okay. But I'm not prepared to walk years in relationship with someone and then 5 years, 10 years down the line, then it's a whole mess, conundrum thing.
And I think control nowadays is presented as social conditioning. So religious institutions do it, places of employment do it, sports groups do it. Basically, that gentle social nudging conditioning where it implements its ideals and values on you that may not be your core, and before you know it, you think it's you, but it's not you. But you've just been conditioned enough to believe that what that control matrix or agenda is set up is actually the only way for you to think. So for me, control is not always sometimes an outright, oh, now I'm controlling you. It's got to do with social conditioning. And we are firm believers of who you hang out with is who you will become.
Yeah.
So we are intentional. I think we're a bit more intentional of recent in terms of who we spend our time with, how we spend our time with, and also our expectations of the individuals and even of ourselves in that relationship to ask that tough questions of we have been hurt or we have been burnt or we have been misunderstood. So in this relationship, I agree with Cam, we want to present our full selves and say this is who we are. And you have the opportunity to either take that or leave it, but we're not going to change to accommodate. And we also will not be social conditioned because we need to live by your standard. And I think that for me has been more of a scale of like the social conditioning of society, but more so of myself in the spaces. Like, am I the same person at home, at work, wherever I am? Am I that same person, or do I change and morph and accommodate because I need to be this in this space and that in that space in this? And I think that's also not mentally
No, that's hard.
healthy
That's
because
hard
that's
work.
tired. That's
That's
tiring.
hard work, yeah. To be a different person in this circle and a different person in that circle, it's hard work. Yeah. Uh, I can't do it. I think perhaps I'm getting older. I like to deny the fact that I'm getting older, but I don't have capacity in myself to be different, have different personas. I'm gonna be this on this video. I'm gonna be this person to Joel. I'm gonna be this person to the friends that I have, and in the people to the people that I know. And I think that's what we need to be. We need to become our authentic selves, real. And yes, we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna say things that is maybe not accurate, not correct, but everything's come from a point of sincerity. And and I'm open to correction. We're open to correction if something is amiss, and we're open to discuss. And I think that is what humans are there to do: to discuss and debate with one another, make one another stronger. And like, if I just take a step back And I think of the piano playing that I mentioned before. I will share another video related to the progress that I'm making. But again, it comes down to individuals that was happy to see your demise, and you not succeed in some ways. Perhaps they thought they're doing a great thing, but when people push the kids over the edge, I think those people need to be taken to task. And while they're still living and on this earth, because yes, I am a believer. We need to push our kids, but we also need to know when to hold back, and when to push and when to hold back, so that we make them a stronger person, we make them a bolder person, and we make them have tenacity to see things through, and also to maintain their passion for something that they enjoy, and not to break their spirit the way that mine was effectively broken. And as I practice and I play, I consistently reflect on why I stopped playing piano. Yeah.
And also, just to add on to that, like, we don't understand or realize that the breaking of spirit in one aspect then makes every other thing that you impact, it's always a memory of, you go back to that space. And so it does limit other opportunities you would have engaged in had you not have had that experience. So it's important, like, to reflect and to maybe even write down and to work through those emotions constantly.
Correct.
In terms of, I mean, I've had that now with my work experience. It was not great as my first entry into New Zealand. You kind of, it's traumatic and it's trauma. And so there's a part of you that suffers the trauma, that needs to work through it. And then also to then unlearn that that's not the truth, even though someone wanted you to believe that, because people find strength in belittling others. I don't understand that psyche. And yeah, not everything that is good for you, everyone celebrates. Cam said that. And that's also okay. But on the other hand, we need to get into our psyche that conflict is healthy.
Correct.
And we're not talking about the screaming, fighting, and that kind of matches, but conflict in the sense of that we don't feel the
Agree.
same, don't think the same on things, and how do we journey together in difference, but still in community.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to see that play out nicely in an honest way, where even when we don't engage, whether it's political, whether it's faith-wise, or whatever it may be, where we don't agree, but we actually agree to disagree, and we still maintain that same intensity of relationship, even if we don't believe the same or feel the same about stuff.
Like you mentioned political now. Something that's bothering me in the current political state that we're living in. One is people are anti-immigrants, but everybody's an immigrant. Maybe they were even born there and they now carry the citizenship of the country where they are. But somewhere along the line they were an immigrant. And maybe they were still mixed race. But people need to get it in their head that they are all immigrants. And to be anti-immigration, we need to just understand that it's a joke. Immigrants make the world go round, because everybody is migrating from one place to another, moving from here to here, bringing their skills from this place, taking it to that place, and moving along. And that makes the countries where we're finding ourselves in stronger and better. And to have the rhetoric that immigration is a problem, it's a fallacy, it's false. And then at the same time, to think that we somehow own land. Yes, we may have purchased a piece of land, but look, we don't own land. This land is still going to be here if we're all dead. If somehow if people wants to blow up this earth, then this land will still be there without us. And that is what you got to understand. This is going to exist whether we're here or not. And there's no point of land ownership at the demise of the next person. So, and there's enough to go around. There's enough wealth in this world to go around that everybody doesn't have to go hungry or fight or steal to survive. But it's the way things has been designed. But yeah, I think that is important. So we need to just care for each other, be cognizant of each other's opinions, and respect their opinions and their feelings. And don't come to the point that when we say something that we disagree with in a public space, then we become the villain. Even when within the church context or various contexts, then we're the villain. And Joe was also saying, saying something about that we need to be our authentic selves as well. And like I go back, which I will share more about. I think when I was studying electrical engineering at CPUT, there's a moment that I applied for this thing. It was a retail foundation or something like that. I know the retailer, but I'll mention the retailer at another point in time. And I made application for this thing. Nothing was happening. Everything went silent. I was transitioning between deciding if I wanted to go into the business route or actually pursue the BTech in electrical engineering or actually go and do like a in-service or work thing. And at the same time that was all transpiring, this particular individual forced me to make a decision and just basically told me, no, I need to make this decision right now. And you know what? I like reflect back on that. This guy's actually a professor in South Africa at the moment. And I think back to that moment, perhaps it was designed that I don't do that thing, that I don't get tired or sucked into something that is maybe not sound. But even those things has impact on people's lives. And those people don't care about the impact that they have on your life. It's all their own thing, their greed, and where they can get or the places they can go. And I think as a society, we need to try and see who's around us, who's in our circle, and how are we going to support people in the issues that they face and the struggles and the things that they may have experienced in the history. Yes, there's psychologists out there, but many people, like if I think the country that I come from, psychologists and things are sometimes out of reach for many communities in terms of financially and accessibility to those sort of services. But there's many people out there who've experienced things and has worked through things and it maybe even been to psychologists and institutions and can actually speak and walk alongside these people as mentors. And I think that is what we seek, and I think what we want to be as well.
Yeah, if you can't help, if your goal and intent is not to improve and leave things better than what you found it, be it at home or in your friendships or at work, then what is your purpose? And even getting back to property, you only own the rights to something because you cannot take that with you when you die. So you own the right to access to have whatever setting it may be. I said it earlier, there's beauty in diversity, and immigration brings about diversity. And as much as you want to better your family, that's why people move around for better opportunities, but also for the betterment of that place they're going to. So the intent is to improve your family, but also that you can be a blessing and improve your surroundings. And I think we just met another family yesterday that's not been long, or last night, who's not been long in the country, like few months into being new. And you kind of relive your first few months here. And I realize now how lonely and alone we were. Just the three of us, just like hustling with work, hustling with going to church, going to school. And we were just talking to that family about, you know what, it's important that you connect. It's important that you speak about how you feel. Like if you're at home and you are just lonely, just reach out. We can get together. If you call me 50 times, I think just being that other person there that family knows, when I message, there's a message at the other end. When I extend my hand of can we do something, it's not going to be pushed down and say, oh no, we don't want to. I think the fundamentals of our faith is that we are meant to be here for each other. And when I hear things of fighting, countries fighting, disunity, institutions, you just like, I mean, you don't get married to fight. You get married to start a life and to build together and maybe to have your family if that's possible. That's why you come together. And so I'm even thinking of institutions, sports clubs, churches, whatever it is, comes together for the greater good. And I sometimes think that we lose the greater good purpose when we start looking at each other with greed and contempt and control. And we don't realize slowly but surely there's social conditioning happening where I'm trying to condition you to make you believe what I believe instead of honoring the fact that you are unique, you think different, and I actually appreciate that we don't think the same on lots of matters. So for me, coming back now out of a few months ago, we were going through relationship turmoil, not knowing what's going on. Now we're on the other side of like, okay, cool, now things look a bit more clearer. There's a bit of restoration that's taken place in terms of finding what we want, what we need, walking along new journeys with even old friends of just saying there's now a new way of how we want to proceed in this. Don't be socially conditioned to be who you're not supposed to be. Don't fall for that motive that seems to be pure, but you can tell there's something not right. If that seems to be not right, it generally, we say there's a rumor, if there's some smoke, there's generally a fire, there's generally some truth to that feeling. So explore it, ask the difficult questions, and I would say really just be yourself. If you can't be your whole self and you feel like, oh, when I get it, then that should be a red flag in terms of relationship. So yes, we are gonna continually, we're still gonna get hurt. I just hope that we get better at identifying those red flags quicker. Not that we're gonna discard people. Sometimes you're gonna call them and say, hey, that wasn't cool. But I mean, you also need to know this person you need to walk away from. Like some battles are not worth fighting, and some spaces are not worth your energy or your voice. So you also need to know, like, listen, I can sit here and listen. If I'm going to open up my mouth, I don't think it's going to be beneficial. So maybe it's just best if I move on and walk away. But on the immigration point, I agree. There's beauty in diversity. Because things look different, that we appreciate it more. That all flowers don't look the same. That all fish don't look the same. That all dogs are not the same. Because they're different, and yet we deem that as beautiful. Why is it when we have different opinions do we then view that as completely wrong?
Or different skin tones, that we are lesser human being.
Yeah.
I think if you buy that rhetoric, I think people need to get re-educated, because there's no difference in their mental capacity and their mental ability. I think it's proven time and time again that you get brilliant people of all different skin tones. And it's just a matter of opportunity. Here in New Zealand, I've come to learn that everybody is the same, whether you like it or not. So let's just learn to love with one another. Thank you for listening to this video. Until next time, peace.